ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्ज सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹர ஹரோஹரா. लोकवीर्यं महापूज्यं सर्वरक्षाकरं विभुं पार्वतीहृदयानन्दं शास्तारं प्रणमाम्यहं। स्वामिये शरणमय्यप्पा। वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वतीपरमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्तिव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീടേണ്ടാത്തോരു പ്രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good evening, everyone. So we'll do a review of 78 and 82 today. Who wants to do what?
I can chant 78.
Okay.
Okay.
Who wants to do 82?
I start?
Okay. By the time you finish, somebody pick 82. Okay.
Okay.
I can do 88, Rajesh.
82.
82, yeah. Maybe
okay.
I'll mess up with the tune in between, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Dasakam 78, Rukmini Sandesha. त्रिदशवर्तकिवर्धितकौशलं त्रिदशदत्तसमस्तविभूतिमत् जलधि मध्य गतं त्वमभूषयो नवपुरं वपुरञ्चितरोषि रोचिषां दुदुति दुदुषि ददुषि ददुषि रेवतभूभृतिरेवतीं हलभृते तनयां विधिशासनात् मति महितं महितमुत्सवघोषमपूपुषः समुदितैर्मुदितैः सह यादवैः अथ विदर्भसुतां खलु रुक्मिणीं प्रणयिनीं त्वयि देव सहोदरः स्वयमदित्सत चेदिमहि भुजे स्वतमसा तमसाधुमपाश्रयन्
Upashrayan. Sadhum upashrayan. Last.
तमसाधुमपाश्रयन्
Upashrayan. Ninga apashrayan.
उपाश्रयन् तमसाधुमुपाश्रयन् चिरधृतप्रणया त्वयि बालिका सपदि काङ्क्षितमङ्गसमाकुलां तव निवेदयितुं द्विजमादिशत् स्वकदनं कदनाञ्चितनिर्मितम्
Kadanang. Last word.
कदनङ्ग
Yeah.
तव निवेदयितुं द्विजमादिशत् तव निवेदयितुं द्विजमादिशत् स्वकदनं कदनङ्ग विनिर्मितम् द्विजसुतोऽपि चतुर्नमुपाययो तव पुरं हि दुरासदम् मुदमवाप च सादरपूजितः स भवतापहृता स्वयं स च भवन्तमवोचत कुण्ठिने नृपसुता खलु राजति रुक्मिणी त्वयि समुत्सुकया निजधीरता रहितया हितया प्रहितोऽस्म्यहम् तव हृतास्मि पुरैव गुणैरहं हरति मां किल चेदि नृपोऽधुनाम् अयि कृपालय पालय मामिति जगदे तयाम् अशरणां यदि मां त्वमुपेक्षसे सपदि जीवितमेव जहाम्यहम् इति गिरासुतनोरतनोद्भृशं सुहृदयं तव कातरम् अथ कयस्त्वमथैनमये सखे तदधिका मम मन्मथ वेदना नृपसमक्षमुपेत्य हराम्यहं दयितामसि ते क्षणाम्
Rupan, the first word, first line la akhathayas.
Akhathayas.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to say it again?
No, keep going. Yeah.
Okay. प्रमुदितेन च तेन समं तदा रथगतो लघुकुण्ठिनमेयिवान् गुरुमरुत्पुरनायक मे भवान् वितनुतान् तनुतान् निखिलापदाम् श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Should I go ahead, Rajesh?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Sundari. Yeah.
Dasakam 82, Bana Yuddham, Nrugam Moksham cha. प्रद्युम्नो रोक्मिणेयः स खलु तव कला शम्बरेणाहृतस्तं हत्वा रत्या सहाप्तो निजपुरम् अहरद् रुक्मिकन्यां च धन्यां तत्पुत्रोऽथा निरुद्धो गुणनिधर अवहद्रोचनां रुक्मिपौत्रीं तत्रोद्वाहे गतस्त्वं न्यवधिं मुसलिना रुक्म्यपि द्यूतवैरात् बाणस्य सा बलिसुतस्य सहस्रबाहोः माहेश्वरस्य महिता दुहिता किलोषा त्वत्पौत्रमेनमनिरुद्धमदृष्टपूर्वं स्वप्नेऽनुभूय भगवन् विरहातुराभूत् योगिन्यतीव कुशला खलु चित्रलेखा तस्याः सखी विलिखति तरुणानशेषान् तत्रानिरुद्धं मुषया विदितं निशाहयाम् आनेष्टयोगबलतो भवतो निकेतात् कन्यापुरे दयितया सुखमारमन्तं चैनं कथञ्चन बबन्धुषि शर्वबन्धौ बबन्धुषि शर्वबन्धौ श्रीनारदोक्तदुदन्तदुरन्तरोषैः त्वं तस्य शोणितपुरं यदुभिर्न्यरुन्धाः पुरीपालशैलप्रियदुहितृनाथोऽस्य भगवान् समं भूतव्रातेर्यदुबलम् अशङ्कं निरुरुधे महाप्राणो बाणो झटिति युयुधानेन युयुधे गुहः प्रद्युम्नेन त्वमपि पुरहन्त्रा जगटिषे निरुद्धा शेषास्त्रे मुमुहुषि तवास्त्रेण गिरिशे धृता भूता भीताः प्रमथकुलवीराः प्रमथिताः पुरा स्कन्दः कुसुमशरबाणैश्च सचिवः स कुम्भाण्डो भाण्डं नवमिव बलेनाशु बिबिदे.
Sundari, the third line, Skandah, and ich sound comes there, okay, instead of Skandaha.
पुरा स्कन्दः कुसुमशरबाणैश्च सचिवः स कुम्भाण्डो भाण्डं नवमिव बलेनाशु बिबिदे चापानां पञ्चशत्या प्रसभम् उपगते छिन्नचापेऽथ बाणे व्यर्थे याते समेतो ज्वरपतिरशनैर्ज्वरित् त्वज्वरेण ज्ञानी स्तुत्वाथ दत्वा तव चरितजुषां विज्वरं सज्वरोगात् प्रायोऽन्तर्ज्ञानवन्तोऽपि च बहुतमसा रौद्रचेष्टा हि रौद्राः बाणं नानायुधोग्रं पुनरभिपतितं दर्पदोषाद्वितन्वन् निर्लूनाशेषदोषं सपदि बुभुदुषा शङ्खरेणोपगीतः तद्वाचा शिष्टबाहुद्वितयम् उभयतो निर्भयं तत्प्रियं तं मुक्त्वा तद्दत्तमानो निजपुरमगमः सानिरुद्धः सहोषः मुहुस्तावच्छक्रं वरुणमजयो नन्दहरणे. I lost my tune.
Muhustabachakram varunamajayo nandaharane.
मुहुस्तावच्छक्रं वरुणमजयो नन्दहरणे यमं बालानीतौ दवदहनपाने निलसखं विधिं वत्सस्ते ये गिरिशमिह बाणस्य समरे विभो विश्वोत्कर्षी तदयम् अवतारो जयति ते द्विजरुषा कृकलासवपुर्धरं मृगनृपं दिवालयमापयन् निजजने द्विजभक्तिमनुत्तमाम् उपदिशन् पवनेश्वर पाहि माम्. Sri Krishnaaya Parabrahmane Namaha.
Very good. Okay, so let's start with 83. So Sudha, you can be a student, and Vijaya, you can be a student first half. So 83 is Poundraka Vada Varnanam, first one. Second is Vivida Vada Varnanam. So two different stories in there. Stanza 1. Rame Tagokulagate Pramadha Prasakte Kutanupeta Yamunadamane Madanthe Swairam Samaramati Sevakavada Mudho Dutam Nyayungta Tava Poundraka Vasudeva. So at one point, Balarama keeps going to Gokul, Vrindavan, right? He keeps visiting. Krishna is the one who doesn't visit. So Balarama ends up going there one time, and and then when he was spending time in the evening in the waters, then what happens is, he had drunk, and so he had gotten intoxicated with liquor. So when he did that, what he started doing was, it says he pulled with his the weapon that the parachute that he had, he pulled the Yamuna towards there, which then resulted in tributaries. So essentially what, like Parashurama's story and this Balarama story, and we're going to see two instances where this is going to happen with Balarama, where with this thing, he's able to move something, displace the water to a different place. So essentially dig and create a canal, right? That's essentially what he's doing. So essentially he's able to take the Yamuna, and then it creates multiple tributaries. So it starts flowing into many more places. That is the only story. That's the only thing they say that. That's what he does when he's actually, when he was there in Gokula. So that is happening there. So in parallel, when Krishna was then sitting in Dwaraka, so at the time, there was this king called as Poundraka. So this Poundraka, he looked a little bit like Krishna, but and so all these ministers who were also around him said that he is like Krishna, he looks like Krishna, he behaves like Krishna. So they kind of added to his ego, right? So what this Poundraka does is he actually sends a messenger because he's not flattered with all of these men. So he starts dressing up like Krishna all the time. And now he thinks that he is the one who's the supreme Lord who has incarnated on earth. And this Krishna who's sitting in Dwaraka is somebody who's acting like Krishna or like Narayana. So with that, what he does is he actually sends a messenger to the court of Krishna to ask for something, right? So that messenger is getting sent here. So Rameta Gokula Gate Pramada Prasakte, comma, Hutanupeta Yamuna Damane Madandhe Swairam Samaramati Sevaka Vada Mudho, comma, Dutam Nyayunta Tava Poundraka Vasudevaha. Rameta Gokulagate Pramadha Prasakte Hutanupeta Yamuna Damane Madandhe Swairam Samaramati Sevaka Vada Mudho Dutam Nyayunta Tava Poundraka Vasudevaha.
रामेत गोकुलगते प्रमदा प्रसक्ते पूतानुपेत यमुनादमने मदान्धे स्वैरं समारमति सेवकवादमूढो दूतं ययुङ्क्त तव पौण्ड्रक वासुदेवः रामेत गोकुलगते प्रमदा प्रसक्ते पूतानुपेत यमुनादमने मदान्धे स्वैरं समारमति सेवकवादमूढो दूतं न्ययुक्त तव पौण्ड्रक वासुदेवः
रामेत गोकुलगते प्रमदा प्रसक्ते हूतानुपेद यमुना तमेन मदान्ते स्वैरं समारमति सेवकवादमूढो दूतं नेयुङ्क्त तव पौण्ड्रक वासुदेवः रामेत गोकुलगते प्रमदा प्रसक्ते Huthanupeda Yamuna Huthanupeda Yamuna Tamane Madhante Swairam Samaramadi Sevaka Vadamudo Dudam Neyunkta Tava Poundraga Vasudevaha.
Answer 2. Narayanohamavatirna ihasmi bhumau Datse kila tvamapi mamaka-lakshanani Utsrujyatani sharanam brajamamite tvam Duto jagada sakalair hasitas sabhayam. So now this Poundraka sent a message through the messenger who has come. So the messenger comes to the court of Krishna and now he's reading out the letter that Poundraka has sent in first person. So the Poundraka has said, listen, I am that Vasudeva who was actually incarnated on this earth. And I have been born with the appropriate symbols and appropriate weapons and everything. And you have taken up my name and you have actually, you have some of my ayudam with you, which don't belong to you, right? So that's what he actually says. And then he says that you either give up the Shakram, Shankh, Chakram and everything of mine, which you have, or you have to come and battle with me out in the battlefield. So when he comes and says that Hasita is Sabhayam, everybody in the court are laughing, right? What is this guy telling? If he says he is the God, then he should automatically have all the Lakshanam of the God. But somehow he claims to be the God, but he doesn't have the Lakshanam of the God, right? And he's coming and asking all this from Krishna. However, Krishna says, you know what? That's fine. Go tell Poundraka, I'm not going to give it. I'll meet him in the battlefield, right? That's so he then sends the messenger back. So Narayano Aham, but you can say it together. Narayanoham Avatirna ihasmi bhumau, comma, Dhatse kila tvamapi mamaka lakshanani, short e, Utsrujya tani sharanam braja mam ite tvam, comma, Duto jagada sakalair hasitaha, put is hasitas sabhayam. Narayanoham avatirna ihasmi bhumau धत्से किल त्वमपि मामकलक्षणानि उत्सृज्यतानि शरणं व्रज मामिति त्वां दूतो जगाद सकलैर्हसितः सभायाम्.
नारायणोऽहमवतीर्ण इहास्मि भूमौ दत्से किल त्वमपि मामकलक्षणानि उत्सृज्यतानि शरणं व्रज मामिति त्वां दूतो जहाद सकलैर्हसितः सभायाम्. नारायणोऽहमवतीर्ण इहास्मि भूमौ दत्से किल त्वमपि मामकलक्षणानि उत्सृज्यतानि शरणं व्रज मामिति त्वां दूतो जगाद सकलैर्हसितः सभायाम्.
नारायणोऽहम् अवतीर्ण इवास्मि भूमौ तत्से किल त्वमपि मामकलक्षणानि उत्सृज्यतानि शरणं व्रज मामिति त्वां दूतो जगाद सकलैर्हसितः सभायाम्.
हसितः सभायाम्.
अगसितः सभायाम्.
हसितः सभायाम्.
असितः सभायाम्. नारायणोऽहम् अवतीर्ण इहास्मि भूमौ तत्से किल त्वमपि मामकलक्षणानि उत्सृज्यतानि शरणं व्रज मामिति त्वां दूतो जगाद सकलैर्हसितः सभायाम्.
And the third line, first word, Vijaya, utsrijya. There's no in sound there.
Utsrijya.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Utsrijyatani sharanam.
Sanchatri. Dute tayatavati yadava sainikaistvam yato dadarshita vapuh kila paundrakiyam tapena vakshasi kritankamanalpamulya shri kaustubham makara kundala pita chelam. So after Krishna then said, I'm not going to give, I'll meet him in the battlefield, I'll give it to him there, right? So this messenger then goes back and tells Paundraka that Krishna is refusing. So Paundraka is now getting ready for battle. So Krishna then goes to battle to the in the vicinity of Kashi, right? Because there's another story that's going to come about Kashi in this. So the king of Kashi was also Paundraka's friend. So the king of Kashi is also coming to help Paundraka. And so Krishna, when he goes there, he's now seeing Paundraka for the first time face to face, because Krishna had not heard about him. And then when he looks at him, he saw that he was exactly dressed like Krishna. He had the conch shell on one hand, he had a disc on the other hand, and then he had a gada in the other hand. He was having a lotus on, he didn't have four hands, but he was having all those things with him, right? And then he had an imitation of the Saranga bow with him. And then the Srivatsa mark, which is there in the Krishna's chest, he had actually burnt a mark in his chest, which was resembling the Srivatsa mark. And he was also wearing a jewel, which was looking like a Kaustuba jewel. That's why it says here, Shri Kaustubam Makara Kundala Pita Chelam. So he is wearing a yellow color garment. He was wearing a garland of all the flowers, for the forest flowers. And he looked exactly, and he also had 2 earrings. So he was exactly like Krishna, except that his things were fake, right? It was not the real ones. So when Krishna looked at him and said, this guy is exactly dressed like me, right? And then they coming face to face. Duteta Yatavati Yadava Sainikais Tvam, Yato Dadarshita Vapuhu, put a ich, Vapuh Kila Paundrakiyam Tapena Vakshasi Kritankam, we can break it that Kritankam Analpa Mulya, and then put a plus and say the next line together. Shri Kaustubham Makara Kundala Pita Chelam. Dute tayatavati yadava sainikaistvam yato dadarshita vapuh kila paundrakiyam tapena vakshasi kritankamanalpamulya shri kaustubham makara kundala pita chelam.
Dute tayatavati yadava sainikaistvam.
Kai. Sainikaistu.
दूते यादवति यादव सैनिकैस्त्वं यातो ददर्शितव पुक्किल पौण्ड्रकीयं तापेन वक्षसि कृताङ्कमनल्प मूल्य श्रीकौस्तुभं मकरकुण्डलपीतचेलम् दूते यादवति यादव सैनिकैस्त्वं यातो ददर्शितव पुक्किल पौण्ड्रकीयं तापेन वक्षसि कृताङ्कम् अनल्पमूल्य श्रीकौस्तुभं मकरकुण्डलपीतचेलम्
दूते यादवति यादव सैनिकस्त्वं यातो ददर्शितवपुक् किल पौण्ड्रकीयं तापेन वक्षसि कृदाङ्कम् अनल्पमूल्य श्रीकौस्तुभं मकरकुण्डलपीतचेलम् दूते यादवति यादव सैनिकस्त्वं सैनिकैस्त्वं यादो ददर्शितवपुक् किल पौण्ड्रकीयं तापेन वक्षसि कृदाङ्गम् अनल्पमूल्य श्रीकौस्तुभं मकरकुण्डलपीतचेलम्.
Stanza 4. Kalayasam nija sudarshanamasyatosya kala nalotkara sudarshanena shirsham chakartitamamardhita chasya senam tanmitra kashipashiropi chakartakashyam. So then the kind of the two armies then start battling, right? So the Kashi king's army and Poundraka's army, they start firing weapons and everything. And Poundraka, now he has this discus, which is actually made of cast iron, right? So that was again, it's not a real discus. It's a fake chakram that he had. So he then throws that at Krishna. And then he says, you are not giving your weapons, so I'm going to now hurl my weapons at you. So Krishna then gives him one more chance. Krishna says, that you don't do this, don't unnecessarily ask for things because you don't know what you'll get, right? So Krishna asks him to surrender, he refuses to. So Krishna says, okay, you want my chakram, I'll give you my chakram. And then Krishna sends the chakram, and then that's the end of Poundraka Vasudeva, right? He dies. Now, this Kashi Raja, king who is there, so when he left for the battle, he makes a promise to his citizens or residents, because there's a section of people who used to hate Krishna a lot. So this Kashi Raja was in that category. So he had made a promise that I'm going to go battle Krishna and I'm going to bring the head of Krishna into the gates of Kashi. That's what he actually promises. So, and then all the citizens are now waiting for the head of Krishna to land eventually. But here Krishna, what he does is, when after getting rid of Poundraka, Krishna then gets rid of the Kashi Raja and his head ends up on the gates of Kashi. So, and that story is going to continue. So that's why it says in the very last line, Tanmitra Kashipa Shiropi. So his head now lands in the city of Kashi, in the kingdom of Kashi. Kala Yasam Nija Sudarshanam Asyatosya. You can break at that ma. Sudarshanam Asyatosya, comma. Kala Nalotkara. You can't break that. Kala Nalotkara Kirena Sudarshanena Shirsham Chakartita Mamardita. So the first one is a ta, Chakartita, then Mamardita, Chasya Senam, comma, Tanmitra Kashipa Shiropi Chakarta Kashyam. Kala Yasam Nija Sudarshanam Asyatosya Kala Nalotkara Kirena Sudarshanena Shirsham Chakartita Mamardita Chasya Senam Tanmitra Kashipa Shiropi Chakarta Kashyam.
Kala Yasam Nija Sudarshanam Asyatosya Kala Nalotkara Kirena Sudarshanena Shisham Chakartita Mamardita Chasya Senam Tanmitra Kashipa Shiropi Chakarta Kashyam. Kala Yasam Nija Sudarshanam Asyatosya Kala Nalotkara Kirena Sudarshanena Shirsham Chakartita Mamardita Chasya Senam Tanmitra Kashipa शिरोऽपि चकर्तकाश्याम्
कालायसं निजसुदर्शनम् अस्य दोस्य कालानलोत्करकिरेण सुदर्शनेन शीर्षं चकर्तिद सास्य सेनां तन्मित्रकाशिप शिरोऽपि चक्रद काश्यां
Chakarta, the fourth line, second last word. Chakarta.
चकर्त काश्यां कालायसं निज सुदर्शनम् अस्य दोस्य कालानलोत्करकिरेण सुदर्शनेन शीर्षं चकर्तिद ममर्तिद सास्य सेनां तन्मित्रकाशिप शिरोऽपि चकर्त काश्याम्.
Stanza 5. जाल्येन बालकगिरापि किलाहमेव श्रीवासुदेव इति रूढमतिश्चिरं सः सायुज्यमेव भवदैक्यधिया गतोऽभूत् को नाम कस्य सुकृतं कथमित्यवेयात्. So Bhattacharya says, this Poundraka Vasudeva, even though he was thinking bad, right, even though he wanted to take everything out of Krishna and he was going to battle with Krishna, the one thing he did was he always thought he was Krishna, right? So that is the beauty of Krishna Avataram. Like you all, I said, it comes in the 88 chapter end, right? We saw that is, you can hate, love, want to marry, do whatever you want, but as long as you're always thinking, because he was always thinking about the form of the Lord and thinking about all the bhushanam and everything the Lord had and was dressing himself also like that, he attained Sayujyam, which means he attained the form of the Lord itself. And that's how he actually got liberated, because all he was doing was he was thinking about Krishna and he thought he himself was Krishna. So he says that's okay, right? And Bhattacharya says in the last line here, Ko nama kasya sukritam. He says, who knows what good merit he has done in his past life, right? He says even to think about wanting to hit Krishna is also, Bhattacharya says, is a good merit, because all you are doing is you're thinking about that all the time, right? Like a lot of us don't think about Krishna all the time. We think about other things. He says he's done some good merit in his past life. We don't know what good merit he has done, because of which in this Janmam he was constantly thinking, and that's why Sayujyameva Bhavad Aikyam, he then merged into you, getting your form itself. Jalyena Balaka Girapi Kilahameva, Shri Vasudeva iti Rudhamatish Chiram Saha Sayujyameva Bhavadaikya Diya Gato Bhut, Ko Nama Kasya Sukrutam Khatam Ityaveyat. Jalyena Balaka Girapi Kilahameva Shri Vasudeva iti Rudhamatish Chiram Saha Sayujyameva Bhavadaikya Diya Gato Bhut Ko Nama Kasya Sukrutam Khatam Ityaveyat.
जाल्येन बालकगिरापि किलाहमेव श्रीवासुदेव इति रूढमतिश्चिरं सः सायुज्यमेव भवदैक्यधिया गतोऽभूत् को नाम कस्य सुकृतं कथमित्यवेयात्. जाल्येन बालकगिरापि किलाहमेव श्रीवासुदेव इति रूढमतिश्चिरं सः सायुज्यमेव भवदैक्यधिया गतोऽभूत् को नाम कस्य सुकृतं कथमित्यवेयात्.
Vijaya, mute lirukil.
Sorry. Jalyena Palaka Kirapi Kilahameva Srivasudeva iti Rudhamadishchiram Saha Sayujyameva Bhavadaikya Dhiya Kado Bhut Ko Nama Kasya Sukrutam Kadamityaveyat. Jalyena Palaka Kiropi Kilahameva Srivasudeva iti Rudhamadishchiram Saha Sayuchyameva Bhavadaikya Diya कदोभूत् कोनामकस्य सुकृतं कदमित्यवेयात्.
The first line la balaka girapi. Okay, second time you said giro. First line.
Oh, okay. Balaka kila. Okay.
Girapi.
Kirapi.
Stanza 6. काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः शर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाणरणातिभीतैः भूतैः कथञ्चन वृतैः सममभ्यमुञ्चते. So we're talking about the king of Kashi, right? So when his head lands in the gates of Kashi, so everybody thought it was Krishna's head because that's what the Kashi's king had promised. So when all the citizens came out, they saw that it was the Kashi's king's head. So now his son, whose name is Sudakshina, so he is like, very disappointed, right? Because his father is dead. So he actually performs a big yajna to Lord Shiva because it's Kashi. So Kashi Vishwanatha was there officially at that point, right? Because he prays to the Lord of the Kashi at that time, right? This is like 5,500 years back, right? That's old. That's how old the temple is. Probably it's older than that. But anyway, so he prays to Shiva. He then performs a homam there, along with few other Brahminical priests. And from that, when Kritya comes, again, we saw this Kritya coming out of fire multiple times, right? In multiple things it comes. So anyways, Kritya is coming, and then, he then tells he directs the Kritya towards Krishna, and then he sends it, and then along with it, the few Bhuta Ganas who were left after the battle with Bana in the previous chapter, so they also were there. So all of them, they start rushing towards or attacking Dwaraka to get rid of Krishna, or wherever Krishna was at that time, to attack him. काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः, शर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाण रणाति भीतैः. So put a visarga there in comma, end of that line. Next line, on top of that bhu, there's a ir that goes away. Bhutaihi, put a ih, bhutaih, katanchana, in sound, katanchana, vritaihi, put a is, vritais, samam abhyamunchat. If you want to break it, that ma. काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः शर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाणरणातिभीतैः भूतैः कथञ्चन वृतैः सममभ्यमुञ्चत्.
काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः शर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाणरणातिभीतैः भूतैः कथञ्चन वृतैः समम् अभ्यमुञ्चत्. काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः शर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाणरणातिभीतैः भूतैः कथञ्चन वृतैः समम् अभ्यमुञ्चत्.
काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः सर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाणरणातिभीतैः भूतैः हृदयैः समम् अभ्यमुञ्चत्.
Vijayan, the second line, the first word, sharvam, sha sound, okay?
Okay, sharvam. काशीश्वरस्य तनयोत सुदक्षिणाख्यः शर्वं प्रपूज्य भवते विहिताभिचारः कृत्यानलं कमपि बाणरणातिभीतैः भूतैः कथञ्चन हृदयैः समम् अभ्यमुञ्चत्.
Stanza 7. Tala pramana charanam akilam dahantim krityam vilokya chakitaih katitopi pauraihi dhyutotsave kimapi no chalito vibhotvam parshvastamashu visasarjita kala chakram. So this kritya, or which is coming out of the fire, right? So it is like, like this also happened, when the Ambarisha Charitram also, right? So where it actually comes, and it is, what do you call it? It's like a naked person who comes, which has got like, copper colored hair all over its body with, dark red eyes and all of that stuff. And it starts running, right? And it starts burning everything that's along the way. So it comes to Dwaraka and it starts burning all the trees and everything that's on the way. So all the residents of the Dwaraka then rush towards Krishna. So Krishna at that time is actually playing dice. That's what it says. So he was just sitting and relaxing, and all these people come and say that some fire, something is coming and burning everything. So Krishna, of course, knows what has happened. So in this stanza, he just says, "Don't worry, and then I'll take care of it." Right? So Tala Pramana Charanam Akhilam Dahantim, comma, Krityam Bilokya Chakitaihi, which is put ich sound, Chakitaih, Katitopi Pauraihi, Dhyutotsave Kimapi no Chalito Vibhotvam. So there is no Chalito. You didn't even move. You didn't even pay attention. You are just Krishna playing dice. All these people came and told you some Krityas come, and you are not even moving from where your spot is. Parshvastam Ashu Visasarjita Kala Chakram. Tala Pramana Charanam Akhilam Dahantim Krityam Vilokya Chakitaih Katitopi Pauraihi Dhyutotsave Kimapi no Chalito Vibhotvam Parshvastamashu Visasarjita Kala Chakram.
Thala Pramana Charanamakilam Dahantim Krityam Vilokya Chakithai Katitopi Pauraihi Dhyutotsave Kimapi no Chalito Vibhotvam Parshvastamashu Visasarjita Kala Chakram. Thala Pramana Charanamakilam Dahantim Krityam Vilokya Chakitai Katitopi Pauraihi Dhyutotsave Kimapi no Chalito Vibhotvam Parshvastamashu Visasarjita Kala Chakram.
Tala Pramana Charanam Akilam Dahintim Kritya Vilokya Sakitai Katitopi Pauraihi Yudosave Kimapino Chalito Vibhotvam Parshvastam Ashu Vishasarchita Kala Chakram.
The third line, last word, Vibhotvam.
Vibhotvam.
Yeah.
Vibhotvam. Tala Pramana Charanam Akilam Dahantim Krityam Vilokya Chakitai Katitopi Pauraihi Tyudotsave Kimapino Chalito Vibhotvam Parshvastam Asu Visa.
Parshvastam Ashu.
Okay, Parshvastam Ashu Vishasarchita Kala Chakram.
Stanza 8. Abhyapatatyamitadhamni bhavan mahastre haheti vidrutavati khalu ghora kritya roshat sudakshinamadakshin cheshtitam tam puplosha chakramapi kashi purim adhakshit. So when Krishna's, like I said, Krishna was sitting there and he didn't want to be bothered with some kritya coming. So he says, Krishna, you didn't even bother to wake up or get up or even move from your place. You continue to play the dice and then you just send the Sudarshana Chakra towards this. Now this kritya, every time when it comes, right, it also has its rules, right? So we also saw how when Durvasa sent it out, it then started chasing Durvasa, right? So because it has certain rules as to who you can use it to attack, right? So when Shiva had given this boon to this Kritya, he said you can go attack people who are bad people, but not people who are friendly towards Brahmana. So anybody who's doing bad deeds, you can send the Kritya towards him. So the Kritya realized that it has been targeted towards the wrong person, and then it saw the Sudarshana Chakram coming towards it. What it does is it has to go and annihilate somebody else. And the default it does, if the target is not the right target, is it goes back to the source. So this Kritya then comes back to Kashi, and then the Sudakshina and all the other people who did the homam to create the Kritya, it actually burns all of them off. So that is what it ends up doing. So that's similarly how like it chased Ambar, Durvasa the other time, right? Same thing is happening. So it goes back and then it gets rid of Sudakshina. and all the other people who helped that. Abhyapatat yamita. So you can't break that word. Abhyapatat yamita dhamni bhavan mahastre, comma.
Rajesh, abhyava, abhyova.
Abhya. Abhya. Ha heti vidrutavati khalu ghora kritya roshat sudakshinam adakshina. You can break that. Sudakshinam adakshina cheshtitam. So if you don't have, some books do not have a im there. Cheshtitam tam. So 2 times the tam is coming. Cheshtitam tam, comma. Puplosha chakramapi kashi purim adhakshit. Abhyapatatyamitadhamni bhavan mahastre haheti vidrutavati khalu ghora kritya roshat sudakshinam cheshtitam tam puplosha chakramapi kashi purim adhakshit.
अभ्यापतत्यमितधाम्नि भवन्महास्त्रे हाहेति विद्रुतवती खलु घोरकृत्या रोषात् सुदक्षिणमदक्षिणचेष्टितं तं पुप्लोषचक्रमपि काशीपुरीमदाक्षीत् अभ्यापतत्यमितधाम्नि भवन्महास्त्रे हाहेति विद्रुतवती खलु घोरकृत्या रोषात् सुदक्षिणमदक्षिणचेष्टितं तं पुप्लोषचक्रमपि काशीपुरीमदाक्षीत्
अभ्यापतत्यमिततां निबं महास्त्रे हाहेति विद्रुतवती खलु घोरकृत्या रोषात् सुदक्षिणम् अदक्षिणचेष्टितं तं पुप्लोषचक्रमपि काशीपुरीम् अदाक्षित् अभ्यापतत्यमिततां निभवन् महास्त्रे हाहेति विद्रुतवती खलु घोरकृत्या रोषात् सुदक्षिणम् अदक्षिणचेष्टितं तं पुप्लोषचक्रमपि काशीपुरीम् अदाक्षित्.
That's 9. The tune changes. Sakhalu vivido raksho ghate kritopakriti pura tavatu kalaya mrityum praptum tada khalatam gatah naraka sachivo desha klesham sujan nagarantike jhatiti halina yuddhan adda papata talahatah. So 2 small stories come in each of these stanzas. So it says, long time ago, during your incarnation as Rama, so one of the monkeys which was actually helping you, O Krishna, that actually wanted to, get liberated in your hands. So it says it was then born again in this yuga as a big ape called as Vivida. So this Vivida, that Vivida, when it is born, right? So it is actually, it was a friend of Narakasura in this birth. So when Narakasura was gotten rid of, then this Vivida decides it has to come and somehow disrupt Krishna and Balarama. So what it does is it comes over to the Dwaraka and starts damaging and destroying all the properties, to the extent that, even where all the sages were doing homam, it used to come and pass urine onto that and used to break everything. It used to essentially do all the monkey things, right? It was an ape. So it used to come and go destroy everything. And it used to also abduct people, men and women, and go put them into a cave. And it was doing all sorts of these things. So Balarama then ended up, he went and just gave it. Says just you got rid of that monkey, Balarama went in and then took care of that ape. So that's all that story is there. There's nothing more. It's just one small incident that happens there. Sakhalu vivido raksho ghate kritopa kritihi. Put F.
Rajesh, அந்த விவிதோ வந்து
Vivida.
மூணாவது தாவா நாலாவது தாவா
The first third.
Third
Vivido.
fourth தான்
Oh, third one. Third தான் போட்டிருக்கு இந்த bookல.
Okay, இங்க என் bookல fourth போட்டிருக்கு.
Okay. स खलु विविधो रक्षो घाते कृतोपकृतिः, put F कृतिः पुरा, comma, तव तु कलया मृत्युं प्राप्तुं तदा खलतां गतः. We'll do two lines in this. स खलु विविधो रक्षो घाते कृतोपकृतिः पुरा तव तु कलया मृत्युं प्राप्तुं तदा खलतां गतः.
सकलु विविधो रक्षो गाते कृतोपकृतिः पुरा तव तु कलया मृत्युं प्राप्तुं तदा खलतां गतः सकलु विविधो रक्षो गाते कृतोपकृतिः पुरा तव तु कलया मृत्युं प्राप्तुं तदा खलतां गतः
सकल विविधो रक्षो कादे कृतोपकृति पुरा तव तु कलया मृत्युं प्राप्तुं तदा कलतां कदः सकल विविधो रक्षो कादे कृतोपकृति पुरा तव तु कलया मृत्युं प्राप्तुं तदा कलतां कदः
नरक सचिवो देश क्लेशं सृजन नगरांतिके, कॉमा, झटिति हलिना युद्धन्नद्धा, डबल न, युद्धन्नद्धा पपात तलाहतः. नरक सचिवो देश क्लेशं सृजन नगरांतिके झटिति हलिना युद्धन्नद्धा पपात तलाहतः.
ராஜேஷ் இன்னும் சாரி
யுத்தியன்னு இருக்கு
யுத்தமா யுத்தியமா
युध्यन्नद्धा, युध्यन्नद्धा.
नरक सचिवो देश क्लेशं सृजन् नगरान्तिके झटिति हरिना युध्यन्नद्धा पपात तलाहतः नरक सचिवो देश क्लेशं सृजन् नगरान्तिके झटिति हलिना युध्यन्नद्धा पपात तलाहतः
नरक सचिवो देशक्लेशं सृजन्नगरान्तिके झटिति हलिना युध्यन्नद्धाः पपात तलाहतः पपाद तलाहतः नरक सचिवो देशक्लेशं सृजन्नगरान्तिके झटिति हलिना युध्यन्नद्धाः पपाद तलाहतः.
Yep, we'll switch halfway. Gopiji, you can be a student. Vikram Soumya is coming back, or Vikram Soumya or Allah?
வருவா
Okay. Oh, okay, so you just cover for her till she comes, or if she's okay. Stanza 10. Sambham Kauravya-putri Harana-niyamitam Santvanarti Kurunham Yatastadbhakya-rosha Dhritakari-nagaro Mochayamasa Ramah Te Gatyah Pandaveyairiti Yaduprutanam Namuchastvam Tadani Tam Tvam Durbodalilam Pavanapurapate Tapashantye Nisheve. So another story happens here. So we saw Krishna, Rukmini, we saw the story Pradyumna, Aniruddha, we saw that hierarchy. Now for Krishna and Jambavati, so there was a son who was born whose name was Samba. So the Samba, what he does is he actually goes and he takes away Duryodhana's daughter Lakshmana. There was, from the Swayamvaram that was happening, like father, like son, right? So he goes and abducts her with her willing only, not against her willing or anything. So he takes her. So when that happens, the whole Kaurava army who is there, so they immediately get hold of him. They arrest Samba and keep him there. So this news reaches Dwaraka. So when Ugrasena and everybody hears them, they say that we have to go attack. So Balarama says, no need of attacking and all. Let me go and talk to Duryodhana and let me go talk to the Kauravas. So Balarama goes there. When Balarama goes and tries to explain, they don't listen to him. So like it's what happened in the first stanza of this chapter. He threatens Kauravas that if you do not let Samba go, I will literally drag all the waters of the rivers which are flowing there and bring it into, or take the Hastinapura and put it into the water or something. He threatens that he'll do it. So at which point they say, you know what, okay, we'll become friends, right? So they kind of give up, and then they let Lakshmana and Samba marry, and then they get back to Dwaraka. So Duryodhana technically and Krishna are sambandhis, right? So because this is going to come later on in the Mahabharata, when that and to say who is Krishna going to support. So what happens? You all know the story of Krishna, Arjuna, right? And Arjuna then says, Krishna tells to Arjuna, you get me, you get the army to Duryodhana. So Duryodhana goes back very happy to when he goes back, then he's told that Duryodhana, you made a big mistake, right? He says, you should have asked for Krishna. So he says, how? But I have the entire Yadav army. He says, no. Shakuni says, you made a big mistake. You should go back to Krishna again. But he'll say, how can I go back, right? I've already asked one time. He says, you went as Duryodhana. Now you go as a Sambandhi and ask for a second, right? So that's when Duryodhana then goes again to Krishna as Sambandhi and asks for some other favors. We'll cover that, it comes later. But anyway, so that is the relation, right? So because Duryodhana's daughter is married to Krishna's son. So Sambham Kauravya Putri Harana Niyamitam, Santvanarthi Kurunam, Yatas Tadvakya Roshad Dhrita Karinagaro, Mochayamasa Ramaha. Sambham Kauravya Putri Harana Niyamitam, Santvanarthi Kurunam, Yatas Tadvakya Roshad Dhrita Karinagaro, Mochayamasa Ramaha.
Sambam Kauravyaputre Harananiyamitam Sandvanardhe Kuruna Yatas Tadva Keroshas Dhrita Karinagaro Mochayamas Ramaha. Sambam Kauravyaputre Harananiyamitam Sandvanardhe Kuruna Yatas Tadva Kerosha Dhrita Karinagaro Mochayamas Ramaha.
Sambham Kauravya Putri Harana Niyamitin Santvanarthi Kurunam Yatastadvakya Roshan Dhrita Karinagaro Mochayamasa Ramaha. Sambham Kauravya Putri Harana Niyamitam Santravanarthi Kuru.
You're putting an extra ir at the beginning. It's Santvanarthi. You're saying Sarn, you're putting an extra ir.
Okay. Santvanarthi Kurunam Yatastadvakya Rosha Dhrita Karinagaro Mochayamasa Ramaha.
Te Ghatyaha, put a F, Ghatyah, Pandaveyairiti, Yadu Pritanam Namuchas Tvam Tadanim, Tam Tvam Durbodha Leelam, Pavana Purapate Tapa Shantye Nisheve. So, Lord of Guruvayur, your Leela, which we are not able to comprehend why all these things are happening. So please, eradicate all my sufferings. Te Ghatyah Pandaveyairiti, Yadu Pritanam Namuchas Tvam Tadanim, Tam Tvam Durbodha Leelam, Pavana Purapate Tapa Shantye Nisheve.
Te Khatya Pandavai Eriti Yadu Pritanam Namupastvam Tadanim तं त्वां दुर्बोधलीलं पवनपुरपदे तापशान्त्यै निषेवे ते घात्याः पाण्डवैरिति यदुपृतनां नामुपस्त्वं तदानीं तं त्वां दुर्बोधलीलं पवनपुरपदे तापशान्त्यै निषेवे
ते घात्याः पाण्डववेयैरीति युद्ध
Yadu.
यदु पृतनां नामुच्चेस्त्वं तदानीं तं त्वां दुर्लब्धलीलां
Durbodh Leelam.
तां त्वां दुर्बोधलीलां पवनपुरपदे तापशान्त्यै निषेवे ते घाट्याः पाण्डवैरीति यदुपृतानां नामुचेस्त्व तदानीं तं त्वां दुर्बोधलीलां पवनपुरपते तापशान्त्यै निषेवे.
Third line, Namu Chastvam. The word.
नामुचस्त्वम्. Okay.
Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. We will go to 84. 84 is Samanta Panchaka Yatra Varnanam. So, like the Yatra, pilgrimage to Samanta Panchaka place. Stanza 1. Kvachita tapanoparāga kāle purinidadhat kritavarma kāmasūnu yadukula mahilā vritassu tīrtam samupagatosi samanta panchakakyam. So this word Samanta Panchaka came little early also. If you all remember, Parashuram Avataram, the last stanza it comes that Parashurama, after he got rid of the entire clan of all the Kshatriyas, he went and did all the final rites there in Samanta Panchaka. So it's considered a very holy place. That's also called Kurukshetra, right? So it later on became known as Kurukshetra, but because the Kurus were ruling there, but that's the Samanta Panchaka is that same place, right? So there was a big solar eclipse which was actually coming when Krishna and Balarama and all of them were in Dwaraka. And this was, it was considered a very auspicious. Now, eclipse time could be considered a bad time, but also if you actually pray, it is supposed to be a very auspicious time for prayers and for fasting and all those things, right? So all of them decided to go to this place called Samanta Panchaka. So this, they were all advised by people that you should all go and spend some time there. So a lot of people came to this place. So the Yadavas, which is all the folks from Dwaraka, then the Kauravas, the Pandavas, then the people from the Vrajabhumi, Nandagopa, everybody ends up coming to Samanta Panchaka at the same time for the solar eclipse. So, however, it says that Krishna that you just leave Aniruddha, your grandson there, along with one other Kritavarma as a commander to take care of the city, and all of you end up going to Samanta Panchaka. Kvachi data tapanoparaga, that's one word, tapanoparaga kale, comma, puri nidadhat kritavarma kamasunu, longu, both of them, kamasunu, yadukula mahilavritaha, putta is mahilavritas sutirtam, comma, samupagatosi samanta panchakakyam. So along with the men, women, everybody goes there at that time. Kvachidata tapanoparāga kāle purinidadhat kritavarma kāmasūnu yadukula mahilāvritas sutirtham samupagatosi samanta panchakakyam.
क्वचिदतपनोपरागकाले पुरिनिदधत्कृतवर्मकामसूनो यदुकुलमहलावृतः सुतीर्थं समुपगतोऽसि समन्दपञ्चकाख्यम् क्वचिदतपनोपरागकाले पुरिनिधत्कृतवर्मकामसूनो यदुकुलमहिलावृतः सुतीर्थं samupagatosi samanda panchakakyam.
क्वचिदथ तपनो परागकाले पुरिनिदधत् पुरीनिदधत् कृतवर्म कामसूनु यदुकुलमहिलावृतसुतीर्थं समुपगतोऽसि पञ्चकाख्यं क्वचिददत तपनोपरागकाले पुरीनिदधत कृतवर्म कामसूनु यदुकुलमहिलावृतसुतीर्थं समुपगतोऽसि पञ्चकाख्यम्.
Answer 2. Bahutara janata hitaya tatra त्वमपि पुनन् विनिमज्य तीर्थतोयं द्विजगण परिमुक्त वित्तराशिः सममिलतः कुरु पाण्डवादिमित्रैः. So here the Samantha Panchaka, because of that solar eclipse coming, so all of them, the Yadavas, the Vrishnis, whoever was there, they all observed fast. And then, it says that already that place, there is a Tirtha Sthalam, but, you made the waters even more pure, or Krishna, by taking dips in the waters there, which were there in Samantha Panchaka. And then along with that, they then took care of, they did a lot of, gifts to the Brahmins and everything. And then, did a lot of charity donations. And then Krishna, you are now beginning to see your friends who are there, who are Kuru and Pandava. The Kauravas are there because this is all before the battle begins, right? So, you see the Kauravas there, you see the Pandavas there. And also after a really long time, you are now also seeing Nanda Gopa and everybody who has also come there. Bahutara Janata Hitaya Tatra, Twamapi Punan Vinimajya Tirtha Thoyam Dvija Gana Parimukta Vitta Rashihi, Samamilataha, put Samamilatah Kuru Pandavadi Mitraihi. Bahutara Janata Hitaya Tatra Tomapi Punan Vinimajya Tirtathoyam Dvijagana Parimukta Vitta Rashihi Samamilatah Kuru Pandavadi Mitraihi.
बहुतर जनता हिताय तत्र त्वमपि पुनन् विनिमज्य तीर्थतोयं द्विजगण परिमुक्त वित्तराशिः सममिलधः कुरु पाण्डवादिमित्रैः. बहुतर जनता हिताय तत्र त्वमपि पुनन् विनिमज्य तीर्थतोयं द्विजगण परिमुक्त वित्तराशिः सममिलधास्कुरु पाण्डवादिमित्रैः.
बहुतर जनता हिताय तत्र त्वमपि पुनन् विनिमज्य तीर्थतोयं द्विजगण परिमुक्त वित्तराशिः सममिलतः कुरु पाण्डवादिमित्रैः. बहुतर जनता हिताय तत्र त्वमपि पुनन् विनिमज्य तीर्थतोयं द्विजगण परिमुक्त वित्तराशिः सममिलतः कुरु पाण्डवादिमित्रैः.
Pancha 3. Tava khalu dayita janai sameta drupadasuta tvayi gadha bhakti bhara tadudita bhavata hriti prakaraihi atimumude samamanya bhamini bihi. So Drupada Sutta, so Draupadi also come there. So, even when we all have get together, right? We all chat, then we have dinner, and then you're sitting, then you don't know how to waste your time. Then you say, okay, why don't you guys tell me how you all met in college, And you start asking about how we kind of go back in time, right? So that's what Draupadi is also doing. Draupadi is actually going and she sees all of Krishna's wives, right? So she sees Rukmini there, she sees Satyabhama, Jambavati, Kalindi, Lakshmana, Bhadra, Mitravinda, everybody is there. She goes around asking, I want to hear from all of you, how did Krishna marry you? Right? So in Bhagavatam, it's very nice. They all go and explain the whole story to Draupadi of how Krishna came, he abducted me, and Rukmini said, I didn't know what was going to happen. Suddenly he came and grabbed me outside the temple, and everybody goes and kind of explains the story, including all the other women who Krishna had rescued from Narakasura. Everybody is there. I don't know if all of them went, 16,000, but anyway, a lot of them were there, and they all explained their stories to Draupadi about what happened. So Draupadi is mingling. That's essentially what they're telling there. Tava khalu dayita janaihi, put is janais sameta, comma, Drupada suta tvai gadha bhakti bhara. So she's very, very devoted to you. Draupadi is very devoted to you. So that's why she wanted to know everything about you. Tadudita bhavadahriti prakarehi, comma, ati mumude samamanya bhaminibihi. तव खलु दयिता जनैः समेता द्रुपदसुता त्वयि गाढ भक्ति भारा तदुदित भवदाहृते प्रकारैः अतिमुमुदे सममन्य भामिनीभिः.
तव खलु दयिता जनैः समेता द्रुपदसुता त्वयि गाढभक्तिभारा तदुदित भवदाहृतैः प्रकारैः अतिमुमुदे सममन्य भामिनीभिः.
Gopiji, Drupadasuta, second line.
Okay, sure. तव खलु दयिता जनैः समेता द्रुपदसुता त्वयि गाढभक्तिभारा तदुदित भवदाहृतैः प्रकारैः अतिमुमुदे सममन्य भामिनीभिः.
तव खलु दयिता जनैः समेता द्रुपदसुता त्वयि गाढभक्तिभारा तदुदित भवदाहृति प्रकारैः अतिमुमुदे सममन्य भामिनीभिः. तव खलु दयिता जनैः समेता द्रुपदसुता त्वयि गाढभक्तिभारा तदुदित भवदाहृति प्रकारैः अतिमुमुदे सममन्य भामिनीभिः.
Answer 4. तदनु च भगवान् निरीक्ष्य गोपान् अतिकुतुकादुपगम्य मानयित्वा चिरतरविरहातुराङ्गरेखाः पशुपवधू सरसं त्वमन्वयासीः. So like, this is like, they're all, a lot of them are meeting here, right? So Vasudeva is meeting Nandagopa and they both are also friends, right? So they all embrace each other and say, really thank for everything that has been done. And now when Nandagopa is coming with Yashoda now, so Krishna is meeting them from when he left Mathura, right? Or Vrindavan at the time when he went to Mathura, right? I mean, officially, maybe he met, but there's no story of him meeting, right? Between that point and this point, right? So because it says, when Nandagopa and Yashoda look at Krishna and Balarama, they still look at them as their 10-year-old boy, because that was the time Krishna left, right? They still, for them, they can't imagine that these are now princes and kings of Dwaraka, and they're all pretty old, because during the Mahabharata war, Krishna was like 89 years old. So I don't know, so this is before then. So he's pretty old at this point, but still for them, they're their children, right? And then, the Devaki is there, Rohini is there, and they all kind of reminisce about the old times, about how great, thankful to Nandagopa and Yashoda for taking care of all their children, right? When Kamsa was, he was being atrocious, all that. Then Kunti is also there. So Kunti and Vasudeva, they're also brother and sister. So Kunti is also coming in complaining about, all the tough times that she's going with along with her children. And, and so that's kind of, they have a long description of how they all talk and everything, right? So, but essentially they're all just meeting and mingling with each other. And then the Gopas have also come there, right? Tadanucha Bhagavan Nirikshya Gopan, so that na that is there, put a in, Gopan, comma. Ati, next word starts with a A. Ati Kutukad Upagamya Manayitva Chiratara Virahaturanga, one word, Virahaturanga Rekhaha, comma, Pashupa Vaduhu, put a is Vadus Sarasam Twamanvayasihi. तदनु च भगवान् निरीक्ष्य गोपान् अतिकुतुकादुपगम्य मानयित्वा चिरतरविरहातुराङ्गरेखाः पशुपवधूः सरसं त्वमन्वयासीः.
तदनु च भगवान् निरीक्ष्य गोपान् अतिकुतुकात् उपगम्य मानयित्वा चिरतर विरहातुराङ्गरेखाः पशुपवधो सरसं त्वम् अन्वयासे तदनु च भगवन् निरीक्ष्य गोपान् अतिकुतुकात् उपगम्य मानयित्वा चिरतरविरहातुराङ्गरेखाः पशुपवधो सरसं त्वमन्वयासे
तदनु च भगवन् निरीक्ष्य गोपान् अतिकुतुकादुपगम्यमानयित्वा चिरतरविरहातुराङ्गरेखाः पशुपवधूः सरसं त्वमन्वयासीः तदनु च भगवन् निरीक्ष्य गोपान् अतिकुतुकादुपगम्य मानयित्वा चिरतरविरहातुराङ्गरेखाः पशुपवधूः सरसं त्वमन्वयासीः
Stanza 5. Sapadi cha bhavadi kshanotsavenha pramushitamanahritam nitam binhinam atirasa parimukta kanchulike parichaya hridyatare kuche nyalaishihi. So this is where now Krishna now meets the Gopikas, right? After a really long time. So, Bhagavatam is so beautiful. It says how Balarama is standing with Krishna and then he sees that the Gopikas are standing at a corner and looking at Krishna. So he realizes that, he doesn't want to be an obstacle. So he moves away, right? So the Gopikas then come and they've been separated from Krishna for so long, right? So like we said, he left when he was 10 years and he never came back. And when they saw him, they just had such an ecstasy. They were they were feeling so elated, right? And they wanted to really embrace Krishna at that point, right? Because they were feeling so happy and elated. And they it says how they took him in their hearts and they really felt like embracing Krishna. But then they also felt, in the middle of, Krishna has become older now, right? And they somehow did not feel it was appropriate at that time for them to go and embrace Krishna, right? So they all kind of closed their eyes and they were embracing him in their heart. So he says, Krishna, you then took a form for every Gopika and then you gave them the feeling as if you actually directly embraced them, right? And then they really felt, as if Krishna is embracing me, and then they were like really feeling that and they felt very elated. And then Krishna then tells them, that I'm sure you all are, angry at me, right? Because I didn't come back, and then you're holding me, he says, what can I do? He says, it's the Supreme Lord who decides who meets, who doesn't meet and all that, right? He says, so the Gopika says, Krishna, we know you are the Supreme Lord. So you can't say, that you have to blame yourself there, right? If you're saying the Supreme Lord is the one who decides who meets and who doesn't meet, then you have to blame yourself for not making us meet at all for so many years. So then Krishna then says, you know what, if I am the Supreme Lord, then you should realize I am there everywhere and I am there at all times, right? I don't have to be physically present with you at that particular time for you to feel me, right? So then if you believe in me as being the Supreme Lord, then you should not worry about it. I'm always there with you. I've always been there with you as well. And so that's how he kind of, convinces them after all these years. And this goes on for a few more stanzas also, but Sapadicha Bhavadikshanotsavena, Pramushita Mana Hridam Nitambininam Ati Rasa Parimukta Kanchulike, Parichaya Hridyatare Kuche Nyalaishihi. Sapadicha Bhavadikshanotsavena Pramushita Mana Hridam Nitambininam Atirasa Parimukta Kanchulike Parichaya Hridyatare Kuche Nyalaishihi.
Sabadi cha bhavadi kshanotsaveena pramushitamaana hridam nitam vinina atirasa parimukta kanjulike parichaya hridyatare kuche nyalaishi. Sapadi cha bhavadi kshanotsaveena pramushitamaana hridam nitam vinenam atirasa parimukta kanjulike परिचयहृद्यतरे कुचेन्यलेशीः
सपदि च भवदीक्षणोत्सवेन प्रमुषितमान हृदां नितम्बिनीनाम् अतिरसपरिमुक्तकञ्चुलीके परिचयहृद्यतरे कुचेन्यलैषिः
Long.
लैषिः सपदि च भवदीक्षणोत्सवेन समुषितमान हृदां नितम्बिनीनाम् अतिरसपरिमुक्तकञ्चुलीके परिचयहृद्यतरे कुचेन्यलैषिः
Answer 6. Ripujanakalahaif punah punarme samupagatai vilambanabhut iti krita parirambhane tvayidrak atibivasha khalu radhika nililye. And Krishna also tells the Gopikas, that you all were great yogis, right, in your previous birth, right? And so you know Jnana Yoga very well. You kind of understand, what the supreme knowledge is. But he says, when you are in very deep devotion with something or some person, or like the love or the bhakti is so deep, like you all have towards me right now, it clouds the Jnana Yoga you already have. He says that is why, although in reality you all are yogis and you understand the true nature of everything, that is not coming forward because right now the devotion and bhakti has taken over for you. So because it's clouding all the knowledge you have, he says, but always realize that, then he kind of gives them, he says, I have tried to explain this to you when Uddhava came there and explained also. At that time also, he also tried to explain this, but he was not successful. Krishna has also explained again, saying that, don't think of like this, you have your supreme knowledge, you realize me as a god, then don't consider me as wanting to be in person and wanting the physical presence, right, is no longer needed and everything. He also gives them that instructions. And then it says here especially that, you meet with Radhika, you meet Radha as well, and tell her how because of all this non-stop war and everything that has been going on, you have not been able to come and meet them at all. So Ripu Jana Kalahaihi, put a F, Kalahaif Punaha, F again, Punaf, Punarme, comma, Samupagatair Iyati, if you want to break it, Samupagatair Iyati Bilambanabhut iti krita parirambhane tvayi drak, comma, ati vivasha khalu radhika nililye. Ripujana kalahaif punaf punharme samupagatairiyati vilambanabhut iti krita parirambhane tvayi drak ati vivasha khalu radhika nililye.
रिपुजनकलहैः पुनः पुनर्मे समुपगतरे यति विलम्बनाभूत् इति कृतपरिरम्भणे त्वयि द्राक अतिविवशा खलु राधिका निलिल्ये रिपुजनकलहैः पुनः पुनर्मे समुपगतैर्यति विलम्बनाभूत् इति कृतपरिरम्भणे त्वयि द्राक अतिविवशा खलु राधिका निलिल्ये
रिपुजनकलहैः पुनर्मे समुपगतैर्यति विलम्बनाभूत् इति कृतपरिरम्भणे त्वयि द्राक अतिविवशा खलु राधिका निलिल्ये रिपुजनकलहैः
पुनर्मे.
Okay. रिपुजनकलहैः पुनर्मे समुपगतैर्यति विलम्बनाभूत् इति कृतपरिरम्भणे त्वयि द्राक अतिविवशा खलु राधिका निलिल्ये.
we'll just try to do 7 or 8 together, maybe 7. And the meaning I'll say next class because it's a little bit detailed thing there. Apagata biraha vyatas tada taha. Put a visarga and comma there. You may not have it. Put a visarga taha, comma. Rahasi vidaya dadata tattva bodham parama sukha chid atmakoham. Chidatmakoham. So that ma becomes chidatmakoham, and then you put a plus, the rest of the word flows together. Chidatmakoham atmet yudayatu. It's one word. Atmet yudayatu vaha. Put a is was sputameva cheta siti. So the third and fourth, however you have it, those two lines are together. Apagata virahvyatastadataha rahasi vidhaya dadata tattvabodham paramasuka chidatmakohamatmedyaduyatu vasputameva chetasiti.
Apagata viraha vyavastadataha rahasi vidhaya dadaya tattvabodham paramasuka chidatmakoham atmetyudayatu vasputameva chetasiti. Apagata viraha vyavastadata.
Apagata viraha vyathastadata.
Apagata viraha vyatastadataha rahasi vidhaya dadaya tattvabodham.
Dadata.
Rahasi vidhaya dadata tattvabodham paramasuka chidatmakoham atmetyudayatu vasputameva chetasiti.
Apagata virahavya thastadataha rahasi vidhaya tadhata tadvabodham paramasuka chidatmakoham atmeta yudayut vasfuta meva chetasiti.
For me, it's easier ways to kind of the second line, the third and fourth line, right? Paramasuka chidatmakohamatmet, kind of that's where the middle comes. Okay. So
Okay. Apagata virahavya thastadataha rahasi vidhaya dadata tattvabodham paramasuka chidatma mohamat matme. Sorry.
Chidatmakoham. Let's say it as one word. Chidatmakohamatmet.
Chidatmakohamatme yudayut vasfuta meva chetasiti.
You got it? You can just practice a few times. Yeah. So then the ittu it comes in the middle of it. That's all. Okay. We'll end the class here today. Sandhranandavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavat bhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh. Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye, everyone.